So reading the news, you see the case of Jeremy Goulet, who took out two pigs, in the same county that I was arrested. And, I commend him for that. You know, I go as far as to say I hope those pigs rest in fucking piss, and that's what you get for fucking with me. And yeah, I'm quite aware of the symbolism of the fact that he was executed on Stanford, I don't know, was it Stanford Avenue, Stanford Street, Stanford Road, Stanford something like that. And, it was quite ironic, and I believe he looked like a blonde guy. Like, he looked like, I'm not one to judge guys, I'm not gay, but, for my knowing as much as every other guy knows, he wasn't a completely, disgusting looking guy. So his problem, was similar to mine with women in that he lived in a lot of places that were isolated, like, military base in Hawaii or something, and he had problems with women that caused him to go to jail. I never been no peeping Tom, or there's no sexual assaults or nothing like that. But I understand why he did it. And I definitely understand why he shot out with those fucking punk ass pigs in Santa Cruz, who are a bunch of filth. Who, he basically proved that the pigs are cowards. Their tactics are inferior, and even a distressed white boy like that can smoke two of them, take their weapons, take their vest, and go out, in stupidity. Imagine what a tactician could do to these scumbags. So to me, there's a lot of lessons to be learned in that story, And it's funny how people who don't even bang sometimes end up wilding out on the government, because that's what they do to you. Imagine being a gangster, who's someone who sees yourself as a gangster. Part of the problem is he saw himself as some kind of soldier. Just like Deshaun Campbell, he saw himself as a gangster. So when you see yourself as somebody like that, and you're being mistreated, your inclination is to use your military experience against your oppressor. You know what I'm saying? So that's that. Rest in piss. All those motherfuckers. And karma's a bitch. God has his way of getting even. That's God's judgment on Santa Cruz law enforcement, Santa Cruz judicial system, everything. That's God's judgment on that small town. God pays back everybody who did me wrong. Sometimes I even wonder why I go out serving motherfuckers, because God is going to do it anyway. Thank you.